The red tally light blinked on, and I was already in the hallway, tie straight, case in hand, telling myself to breathe. You'd think after 20 years in courtrooms, I'd be numb to cameras, but not when 12 million people are waiting to see whether justice still means anything in this country. The American Justice Network had parked a lens right through the glass doors. I could see the reflection of my own face in it, calm, maybe too calm before the first voice cut across the marble. Sir, restricted area. During live broadcast, the officer barked. Small squared shoulders, ponytail pulled tight. Back up, I'm here for court, I said. I have every right. Her partner slid closer, chin up hand on the baton, like she'd been waiting all morning to use it. You're interfering with a federal proceeding. I didn't look at either of them. I looked straight into the camera, the red light blinking like a heartbeat. Then check who's presiding over it. There's a sound marble makes when force meets wood, a deep, expensive crack. She drove me into the oak doors so hard I tasted metal before I heard the echo roll down the hall. I felt the brass nameplate kiss the side of my skull. Then the floor came fast. The camera caught the rest blood in my hair, my case skidding the way their boots didn't move. What the hell just happened? Our bailiff, Marcus Lee, thundered already on the radio for medics and federal backup. Suspect became combative, the ponytail said, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. He fell. Funny thing about being called suspect in your own courthouse. It slices two ways: pain first, then something colder, steadier, almost merciful in its clarity. I found my case fingers slipping on leather. Marcus knelt beside me. Judge, don't move. My briefcase, I whispered. Please, the officer snorted. You need a stretcher, not your paperwork. I stood. Not gracefully, Marcus and our lead prosecutor, Jonah Park, hooked their arms under mine, but I stood. The cameras were still rolling. The country was still watching. I unfolded the black cloth with shaking hands, and you could feel the air change. The whole building inhaled at once. A robe looks like fabric to most folks. To me, it feels like a promise when it settles across your shoulders. I lifted my head, blood warm on my cheek, and I looked at the two officers, Tessa Caldwell and Brooke Avery, and at the camera that had recorded their certainty. My name is Elias Carter, I said. I am the presiding judge of this courthouse, and I'm about to open a trial for a man named Harold Carter. My father killed during a routine stop by officers who wrote that he wouldn't comply. The hallway went quiet enough to hear my blood drip on stone. The ponytail went pale. Someone behind her swallowed hard. I could see through the glass 1,000 living rooms leaning closer. Here's the thing I never told anybody the night my father died. I didn't scream. I sat on the curb outside my own house with a paper cup of bad coffee and stared at the asphalt because it felt wrong to cry on hardwood floors. There's a point grief burns so hot it goes cold. That point lives with you. It learned my address. It followed me into that hallway. Medical can wait, I told the paramedics. Justice can't. I took the bench with a bandage neat as a flag across my head, an open court in Brighton Harbor, a Ruston Lake city that pretends it isn't tired. Jonah stood with his chin set like steel. Ladies and gentlemen, he told the jury, you're going to see what a broken taillight sounds like when it's really a broken narrative. He rolled the footage. March 3rd, 2022, 9:14 p.m. My father's sedan nosed under a street lamp, 2 hands on the wheel like he taught me when I was 15, and too cocky for my own good. Good evening, officers, he said, calm the way black men learn to be around flashing lights. I'm retired Brighton Harbor PD. My wallet's on my right. Don't move, the first officer on that tape snapped. The second circled like a shark that's seen a shadow. You know the rest. You've seen it too many times. The shots came in a row, the world ending, the way a fuse burns bright, quick, unforgivable. The medical examiner took the stand and drew angles in the air. All 3 rounds entered from behind. She said, eyes like ice, hands raised, stationary. This was not self-defense. Defense tried the script. Split-second decisions, their lawyer said, voice smooth as dealership coffee. I leaned forward. Counselor, which split second? Are we discussing the one with two hands on the wheel, or the one where a man announces his movement before he makes it? He opened his mouth, closed it. Somewhere outside, horns started the city deciding in real time who it wanted to be. Internal affairs came next, a detective with the weariness of someone who finally slept and didn't like her dreams. 12 other incidents she admitted voice catching. Body cams malfunctioned. We didn't pull the backups until the feds got involved. An FBI agent, Dana Ruiz, spoke like measuring tape, clean exact. You cannot mistake compliance for threat unless you have been trained to mistake it, she said. What I saw wasn't confusion. It was choice. Between witnesses, the wind shifted. Reporters crowded the steps. People showed up with cardboard signs and candles and kids on shoulders, and I could feel the building learn a new language, one that doesn't apologize for wanting better. The jury left. 3 hours is long enough to question everything, and short enough to tell you the road was straight. When they came back, the foreman, retired shop teacher, cardigan button wrong, couldn't look at the defendants until he had to. We find the defendant, Officer Paige Nolan, guilty of second-degree murder. Then we find the defendant, Officer Karen Holt, guilty of second-degree murder. I didn't hear the gasps so much as feel them. It's like a room exhaling relief and grief at once. I banged the gavel not to quiet anyone but to mark a page. Bailiff Lee, I said, bring in Caldwell and Avery. They shuffled in cuffs and county orange TV lights, finding every seam in their faces. Their lawyers leaned in with the posture of men who know when the math is turned. Your Honor, one said, will enter guilty pleas to all counts. I don't believe in speeches. Not really. Words are knives. They cut cleaner when they're simple. But the country was listening, and I wanted my mother to hear me from her kitchen window, 2 neighborhoods over. You didn't know who I was. I told the 2 in orange. That's the point. You decided belonging before you asked a question. You used force like a key that opens any door. And you left me bleeding on a floor built for truth. I looked into that camera again, into a million living rooms and a few thousand police break rooms, into folks who teach their sons to keep hands flat on dashboards. Accountability isn't anti-police, I said. It's pro-oath. Sentences read themselves when the evidence has spine. Nolan and Holt, 25 to life federal time. Caldwell and Avery, 10 years and barred from the badge forever. The courtroom didn't cheer. It didn't need to. Outside, the city found its voice for us. By nightfall, the mayor went on TV with eyes that had finally seen the tape. The academy announced they'd retire the warrior talk and teach a guardian stance. Slow things down, measure twice, draw never if you can help it. Departments from East Ridge to Pacific Heights called emergency meetings. Body cams that had a habit of dying learned resurrection overnight. A week later, state houses argued like families do, messy, loud, but moving the chairs closer to the table. Folks in uniform wrote to me, rookies and veterans, both saying they signed up to help, and maybe now they'd get to. 6 months later, I walked that same hallway without a bandage, just a thin scar, the color of quiet. They'd hung a plaque by the oak doors, bronze heavy, the spot where 2 certainties collided and only one lived. Brighton Harbor Federal Courthouse became the Harold Carter Federal Courthouse, and I stood with my mother while the cloth came down and the crowd went soft. She squeezed my hand like I was still 9 with grass stains on my Sunday pants. Lauren Pike from AJN asked me on camera if I knew that day would ripple like it did new protocols, reopened cases, and oversight board with teeth. I told her the truth. I knew I wanted to finish what my father started when he put on his badge, make sure nobody's kid had to memorize the words, "Don't shoot." I have grandchildren. Here's what I'll admit, since we're already this far. There were moments I wanted to lay my robe on the bench and walk out into the noise, carry a sign chant until my throat was heat and gravel. But my father taught me to fight inside the lines, so the lines mean something. So I stayed. I kept saying sustained when it counted and overruled when it mattered, and I let the tape speak where my voice would have shaken. The last thing I said from that bench the day of sentencing wasn't poetry. It was a promise I hope outlives me. Justice isn't a place you get to and rest. It's a choice you make every time your hand touches a door, a holster, a steering wheel. If you serve the public, serve all of it. Now, I know some of you hearing this think I should have recused myself the second my blood hit the marble. Some of you think I went too hard. Some think I didn't go hard enough. Good. Sit with that. Argue with your friends about it. Ask why two officers in a bright hallway felt certain enough to slam a stranger because he didn't look like he belonged. Ask why two others wrote non-compliant while a grandfather said my wallet's on the right and announced each move like a flight plan. Tell me where the line should be and who gets to draw it. If you've made it this far, I want one thing from you. Drop a comment and tell me what you've seen with your own eyes. Tell me where you think accountability ends and forgiveness begins, whether broadcasting trials is sunlight or spectacle, whether a badge should feel heavier after today. Right, wrong, somewhere jagged in the middle. I want your truth, because justice, real justice, doesn't survive on silence.